On a stormy night, billionaire Watson returns to his mansion expecting calm. But what he finds shocks him to the core. His maid, Clara, lies unconscious on the floor, and her 6-year-old daughter, Olivia, is terrified and hungry. In the midst of rain, darkness, and a mysterious threat, Watson must protect them both from danger lurking nearby. As secrets unravel, he discovers the truth about Clara's past and the danger that has followed them. With a heart full of courage and compassion, Watson must navigate a stormy road, a relentless car chase, and a shattered household to keep his new family safe. A story of bravery, trust, and the power of kindness. This tale will warm your heart, remind you of the strength in compassion, and show that family can be found in the most unexpected places. Watch now to see how one billionaire's life changes forever in a night of suspense, danger, and heartwarming moments. The storm that night felt almost alive. Rain hammered the tall glass windows of the mansion as if begging to be let inside, each drop sharp like tiny stones thrown by the sky itself. The wind roared across the property, bending the garden trees and sending leaves swirling in chaotic circles. Deep thunder rolled overhead, shaking the ground in slow, angry waves, followed by lightning that split the heavens apart in bright, blinding flashes. The whole world outside seemed restless, uneasy, warning of something brewing in the air. And into that storm, Watson arrived home. He stepped through the front door wearing his signature royal blue suit, the fabric still holding the warmth of the heated car. His white shirt was crisp, unstained, and his red tie rested neatly against his chest, a symbol of a man who controlled everything around him. But tonight, control was slipping. He ran a tired hand through his hair as he entered, expecting the same thing he always expected at this hour. Silence. Maybe the soft scent of mopped floors, maybe the distant hum of the vacuum Clara usually used around this time. After a long meeting that drained every ounce of his patience, all Watson wanted was peace. But instead he froze. The scene before him shattered every expectation he had. Clara, his maid, the quiet woman who never complained, who worked from sunrise to sunset without rest, lay collapsed on the cold marble floor. Her light blue apron was wrinkled. Her white t-shirt clung to her from the humidity, and her yellow, cleaning gloves still hugged her, hands as if she had been working until the very second her strength failed. Her blonde hair spread across the tiles like a broken halo around her head. She wasn't moving. Watson's breath caught in his throat, and he felt his heartbeat stutter hard, almost painfully. A cold wave rolled through him, colder than the storm outside. He took a step forward, but another sound stopped him. A soft sniffle, small and shaky. There, standing just beside Clara's collapsed body, was Olivia, her 6-year-old daughter. The little girl looked tiny in the huge living room, almost swallowed by the tall cream walls and elegant chandeliers overhead. Her navy blue dress, neat and perfect just hours earlier, was now wrinkled and damp at the hem. Her white long-sleeve shirt peeked out under the dress, the sleeves slightly wet from tears or from holding her mother. Watson couldn't tell. Her big blue eyes were filled with fear, the kind of fear a child should never have to carry. Tears streamed down her small cheeks in silent rivers, each one cutting deeper into Watson's chest than the storm's thunder. She wasn't crying loudly. She wasn't screaming. She just stood there, trembling, helpless, terrified, as if she didn't know whether to run, speak, or crumble to the floor beside her mother. Watson's shoes clicked slowly across the marble, each step echoing like a drumbeat of dread. The mansion felt different tonight, darker, colder, as if something awful had seeped into the walls while he was gone. He could feel the tension in the air, heavy, sharp, suffocating. And every instinct in him screamed that something more was wrong. Clara never collapsed. Clara never asked for help. Clara hid her pain so well that Watson had never seen her sit down during her shift, not even for a minute. But now she lay motionless. Olivia looked up at him with trembling lips, her tiny voice breaking before words even formed. And for the first time in years, Watson, the billionaire who had everything, the man who feared nothing, felt genuinely afraid. because nothing in his mansion, nothing in his life had ever looked this broken. Watson rushed forward so fast that his footsteps echoed sharply across the marble, bouncing off the tall walls like urgent alarm bells. He had seen dangerous things in boardrooms, storms on the stock market, and betrayals from people he trusted. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the sight of Clara lying unconscious at his feet. His heart slammed against his ribs as he dropped down beside her, brushing a trembling hand across her cheek. Her skin felt cold, far too cold for someone who should have been cleaning moments ago. Rain thundered outside, yet somehow the storm inside the mansion felt louder, heavier, more terrifying. "Clara, Clara, talk to me." "What happened?" Watson's voice cracked in a way he didn't recognize. A billionaire's voice was never supposed to crack. He was supposed to be in control always, but tonight he felt anything but in control. A tiny sniff behind him made him turn, and there stood Olivia, small, fragile, drenched in fear. She wiped her tiny hands across her wet cheeks, smearing tears instead of removing them. Her little shoulders shook with each breath, as if the weight of the world was too heavy for such a small body. Her voice, when it finally came, was soft and trembling, yet it pierced through the mansion like a scream. We haven't eaten for 3 days." The words hit Watson so hard that for a moment he forgot to breathe. His chest tightened. Not with anger, but with a kind of hollow ache he had never felt before. 3 days? In his house? Under his roof? His throat burned as guilt washed over him in a crashing wave. He looked around and saw the spilled bucket. Water spread across the floor like a shattered mirror, reflecting a life of quiet suffering he had somehow missed. Clara must have been cleaning until her body couldn't take it anymore, until hunger forced her to collapse. Watson slowly turned back to Olivia, his voice softer than he had spoken to anyone in years. "Olivia, sweetheart, why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you tell me?" The child's chin quivered, and she hugged herself as if trying to make her small body disappear. Mama said rich people don't care." Those 6 words sliced through Watson with the sharpness of 1,000 blades. They dug deep, deeper than any business loss or betrayal ever had. He was a man who built empires, a man who made decisions that shaped entire companies, a man who could donate millions without blinking. Yet here, in his own mansion, a starving child believed he wouldn't care. His hands shook as he looked at Clara, then at Olivia, and then around the grand room he spent so much time designing, decorating, perfecting. Suddenly, the marble floors looked cold. The chandeliers looked harsh. The walls felt too tall, too empty, too distant. All the wealth in the world meant nothing if it couldn't protect the people under his care. Watson swallowed hard, fighting a sting in his eyes he never allowed anyone to see. His voice broke as he whispered almost to himself. How did I not see this? In that heavy, heartbreaking moment, Watson saw every detail he had missed. Clara's tired steps, her faint smile when she was exhausted, Olivia's quietness at dinner hours, the shadows under Clara's eyes that he had mistaken for long, work days, pain, hunger, exhaustion, all happening silently, all happening right in front of him, all happening inside his own mansion while he rushed through life too fast to notice. And as he knelt there, watching a child cry beside her unconscious mother, the powerful billionaire finally realized something he had never understood before. It wasn't storms outside that destroy homes. It was the storms people carry inside. Storms no one bothers to see. Watson lifted Clara with trembling hands, trying to balance her weight carefully as if she were made of fragile glass. Her head rested against his chest, her breathing faint and uneven, each breath sounding like a quiet cry for help. He carried her to the couch slowly, gently, like she was someone precious, someone who mattered far more than he had allowed himself to realize. Olivia followed behind him, her small steps echoing nervously as she clutched her stuffed bunny against her chest. The storm outside raged louder, lightning illuminating the mansion in short, violent flashes. As Watson laid Clara down on the couch and brushed the damp hair from her face, something in the corner of his eye caught his attention. It wasn't movement. It wasn't sound. It was something far more unsettling, something that didn't belong. He straightened and turned slowly, his heart beginning to pound in his ears. On the polished marble floor leading toward the hallway were small, muddy footprints. footprints too small for any adult, too messy to belong to someone careful and too fresh to ignore. His pulse quickened as he stepped closer. The prints were faint but clear, wet, uneven, and very recent. They didn't match his shoes, which were spotless. They didn't match Clara's, who wore soft black flats. They didn't match Olivia's tiny shoes either. Someone had been walking inside his home. Someone uninvited. Someone still possibly here. A wave of cold fear washed over him, far colder than the storm outside. Suddenly, the mansion, once a symbol of power and safety, felt enormous and hollow, every hallway a shadowy threat, every door a possible hiding place. Watson's jaw tightened, the protective instinct in him rising like a storm of its own. Before he could take a step, a deafening crack of lightning split the sky outside, brightening the room like a camera flash. The chandelier flickered violently. Then, in an instant, everything went dark. The mansion was swallowed by pitch-black silence. Olivia screamed, a small, terrified sound that hit Watson harder than the thunder itself. She didn't hesitate. She ran toward him blindly and grabbed the front of his royal blue suit jacket with both trembling hands, burying her face against him. Watson immediately dropped a protective arm around her, pulling her close, feeling her tiny body shaking against his leg. The darkness inside the house felt suffocating, alive, as if the shadows themselves were watching. Watson's breath grew steady and sharp, not from fear, but from a rising, fierce determination. In the blackness, he could hear something. A faint creak, a soft shift of air, or perhaps footsteps that froze when the power died. "It's okay, sweetheart," Watson whispered, his voice low and steady though his heart raced. "I've got you." He straightened his back, pulling Olivia closer. His muscles tensed and every sense sharpened. He felt the weight of the mansion around him, the silence, the hidden corners, the unknown danger lingering somewhere in the dark. Someone was in his house, someone who didn't belong. Someone who had walked around while Clara worked, while Olivia cried, while he wasn't there to protect them. Watson clenched his jaw so tightly it hurt. "Someone is here," he said in a voice that was steady but fierce, a tone Olivia had never heard from him. "Stay close to me." And in that pitch-black mansion, with the storm screaming outside and fear crawling through every hallway, Watson felt something awaken inside him, a fire, a purpose, a promise. No stranger would harm the people he had just realized he couldn't live without. Watson lifted little Olivia into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. Her tiny hands clutched his suit jacket as if it could shield her from the storm raging outside. Clara leaned weakly on his other arm, trembling and pale, every step a struggle. The mansion that had once felt like a place of safety now seemed like a shadow-filled maze, each hallway alive with flickering darkness. Rain slammed against the windows with the force of tiny hammers, the sound echoing through the halls like a warning. Lightning split the sky, painting the walls with brief, blinding white light, making every shadow move and twist. He guided them carefully, navigating over wet marble and scattered furniture, each step slow and deliberate. The cold air bit at their faces as they reached the main entrance, the wind whipping rain into their hair and clothes. Outside, puddles formed quickly on the gravel driveway, reflecting the streaks of lightning above. The SUV waited silently, black and sleek, its surface slick with rain. Watson opened the door and helped Clara inside first, her body shivering from exhaustion and fear. Olivia was next, her small body sinking into the car seat as she buried her face against his chest. Watson shut the door with a firm hand, the sound echoing like a shield against the night. He started the engine, and the warm hum of the car was a small comfort against the storm's roar. Rain streaked across the windshield, blurring the world into streaks of light and shadow. For a moment, all was silent except for the beating of hearts and the sound of the storm. Then Clara's weak, trembling voice broke the quiet. "Watson, someone tried to break in earlier. I thought it was the wind, but I heard footsteps." Her words sent a jolt of anger through him. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, feeling a fierce protective rage building inside. Olivia, sensing her mother's fear, hugged Clara tightly, holding on as if she could absorb some of the danger. Watson felt the fire of anger in his chest, a need to shield them both from anyone who might harm them. "Whoever did this won't get near you again," he said firmly, his voice low and commanding. The storm outside pounded harder, rain slapping the SUV like a relentless drum. As he drove down the winding road, puddles splashed against the tires, water spraying over the sides. The headlights cut through the dark night, illuminating trees bowed by the wind and shadows dancing on the road. Every creak of the car, every sudden gust of wind made Watson's pulse quicken. He cast quick glances at the rearview mirror, eyes scanning for any sign of danger. The forest seemed alive, each shadow potentially hiding someone following them. Watson's mind raced. Planning routes, escape paths, anything to keep Clara and Olivia safe. He spoke softly to Olivia, trying to soothe her shaking shoulders. "It's okay, you're safe now. I won't let anything happen to you or your mother." Clara, her face still pale, leaned against the seat, her trust in him clear despite her fear. Rain hammered the roof of the SUV, each drop like a reminder of the danger that had followed them. The road twisted ahead, slick with water, forcing him to focus entirely on the drive. Wind howled through the trees, whipping branches against the car with alarming force. Watson's grip on the wheel never loosened. Every muscle tensed, every sense alert. He glanced at Clara, who nodded faintly, silently trusting him to protect them. Olivia's small hands gripped, his arm as he maneuvered, through puddles and slick turns. The storm showed no mercy, but neither would he. The mansion was already a memory behind them, but its shadow lingered in their hearts. Watson drove faster, careful yet unrelenting, determined to put as much distance as possible between them and the night of terror. He felt every small movement of the car, every splash of water, every whisper of wind, as a threat to their fragile safety. The three of them sat together, bound by fear but also by a growing sense of security within the SUV. Watson's mind never stopped, planning, protecting, staying ahead of danger. He kept speaking softly to Olivia, distracting her from the storm, telling her stories of safety and courage. Clara leaned back, exhausted but slowly calming, reassured by Watson's presence and control. Outside, the storm raged, but inside the SUV, a small bubble of warmth and determination kept them safe. Watson's promise echoed in his own mind. No one will touch them again. The forest road stretched out like a black ribbon ahead of them, rain pounding the SUV in relentless sheets. The storm had grown worse, lightning illuminating the twisted branches that seemed to reach for the car as if trying to grab it. Watson's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, eyes scanning the slick road ahead. Every puddle threatened to spin the tires. Every gust of wind tested his control. Clara shivered in the passenger seat, wet hair plastered to her face, and Olivia clung to his arm, eyes wide with fear. The world outside was a blur of dark trees and streaks of lightning. But then something caught Watson's sharp attention. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, cutting through the storm like a predator tracking its prey. A black truck, large and menacing, was driving fast, too fast, its tires slicing through the water-slick road. Watson's stomach tightened. His pulse raced as he realized they were being followed. Olivia's small voice broke through the roar of rain and wind. "Mr. Watson, that car was near our house, too." Her words sent a jolt of fear and adrenaline coursing through him. The truck gained on them, its presence a growing threat with every second. The vehicle swerved slightly, trying to get closer, almost bumping the SUV from behind. Watson's jaw clenched as cold fury rose within him. "Hold on," he shouted, voice firm and commanding. The SUV jolted as he turned sharply onto a narrower night road, splashing through puddles that sprayed water over the windshield. Clara gasped, her hands gripping the dashboard, the tension radiating off her like a storm of its own. The black truck followed relentlessly, swerving to match each turn, intent clear in its aggressive pursuit. The roar of the storm mixed with the screech of tires on wet asphalt, creating a chaotic symphony of danger. Olivia buried her face in Watson's shoulder, tiny fingers clutching his suit jacket, her small body trembling. The dark road twisted through the forest like a ribbon of uncertainty, and each shadow seemed alive with threat. Watson's mind worked frantically, calculating turns, escape routes, and any way to lose the truck before it could reach them. Clara's voice trembled as she whispered, "It's him, my ex-husband." "I know it is." The words hit Watson like ice water, fueling his resolve. Anger and protectiveness surged, merging into a focused determination to keep them safe. Every turn he took, every puddle he splashed through, was a calculated risk, a maneuver to put distance between them and danger. The truck lunged forward again, tires skidding, water spraying everywhere. Watson's eyes never left the rearview mirror, watching for signs of aggression, ready to react at a moment's notice. Olivia's small cries echoed softly, reminding him of what was at stake. He whispered to her, "Stay close, nothing will happen to you. I've got you." The forest loomed ominously around them, trees bending under the wind, branches scraping the car roof like warning claws. Clara leaned closer, holding Olivia, trembling but trusting Watson to lead them out. Each heartbeat was loud in the tense silence between raindrops and engine growls. Watson's muscles tensed with every swerve, every sharp curve, every sudden rise in the road. The black truck refused to relent, its headlights cutting through the rain like daggers. Cold fury burned in Watson's chest, not just for the threat behind them, but for the pain and fear inflicted on Clara and Olivia. Determined, he pressed the accelerator, carefully maneuvering through puddles and narrow paths, forcing the truck to react to him. Every splash of water, every sudden turn was a battle of skill and courage. His mind raced, calculating each move to keep them one step ahead of danger. The chase seemed endless. The storm unrelenting, yet inside the SUV, Watson's resolve was absolute. Clara's gasps and Olivia's whispered fears became a rhythm driving him forward. He vowed that no matter what, they would escape, that neither the storm nor the black truck could harm them. And as they sped deeper into the dark forest, Watson's focus never wavered. His eyes sharp, his grip firm, his promise to protect unbreakable. Watson pressed the accelerator harder, the SUV surging forward as rain streaked across the windshield. Each turn of the narrow road demanded precision, every puddle a potential hazard. But his focus never wavered. Lightning flashed overhead, briefly illuminating the twisted forest around them, casting long, menacing shadows. The black truck had been relentless. But now, through careful maneuvering, Watson managed a sharp turn that sent the pursuer sliding behind a distant hill. Relief was temporary, fleeting. The adrenaline still coursing through his veins made his hands shake slightly. The forest around them was silent, save for the soft patter of rain against the roof of the SUV. Finally, Watson found a spot under a broken street lamp, its weak light flickering like a dying candle. He stopped the car and turned off the engine, but the quiet did nothing to ease the tension in the air. The storm outside had softened to a drizzle, but the fear inside the vehicle was thick, almost tangible. Clara leaned back against her seat, exhausted, her wet hair clinging to her cheeks. Olivia clutched Watson's arm, small eyes wide and shimmering with tears. Watson turned to Clara, his eyes searching hers for answers, for understanding, for the truth he knew she had been carrying alone. "Tell me everything," he said, voice calm but firm, a safe place for her to open up. Clara's lips trembled as she lowered her eyes, unable to meet his gaze immediately. Her hands twisted together in her lap, damp and cold, betraying the fear that lingered even now. Finally, she whispered, voice barely audible over the rain, "I left him because he hurt me. And Olivia. He blamed me for leaving and threatened me." Her confession hung heavy in the small space of the SUV, more chilling than the storm outside. She swallowed hard before continuing. "I took this job to survive. I didn't tell you because I thought you would fire me." Watson shook his head slowly, feeling a mix of anger, sorrow, and protectiveness. The idea that she had endured so much in silence, fearing the very person who should have been her protector, made his chest tighten. "Clara, you're not just an employee," he said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "You're part of this family now. You and Olivia belong here." Olivia sniffled softly, looking up at Watson with small, trusting eyes. "You're the only one who ever made us feel safe. Mr. Watson," she whispered, her words raw, innocent, and piercing. The sincerity in her voice cut through him like a lightning bolt, sharper than any storm outside. Watson's heart ached, overwhelmed by a mix of guilt for not noticing sooner, relief that they were safe, and determination that no harm would ever come to them again. He reached out, gently brushing Olivia's damp hair from her face, then placed a protective hand on Clara's shoulder. The flickering street lamp cast weak light on their faces, highlighting the fear that still lingered, but also the fragile trust that had formed between them. The sound of the soft drizzle outside seemed almost comforting now, a quiet contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Watson realized, in that moment, that words alone could never convey the weight of what Clara had endured, but his actions from now on would show her the safety and care she and Olivia deserved. The SUV was quiet for a moment, the three of them wrapped in a tense, shared understanding. Clara leaned weakly against the seat. Olivia climbed onto Watson's lap, looking up at him with her small, teary eyes. "Mr. Watson, if Mama dies, can I live with you?" Watson felt something inside him break. He pulled her close. "Olivia, nothing will happen to your mother, and you're both staying with me. From now on, you're safe, I promise." Thunder rolled in the distance, but inside the SUV, there was a new warmth. A new family was forming. Watson didn't return to the mansion that night. He took Clara and Olivia to his private cabin, safe, warm, and far from danger. There he cooked them food himself, fed Olivia first, then made soup for Clara. He stayed awake all night watching over them. Over the next weeks, he helped Clara get legal protection. He hired security. He made sure her ex could never hurt them again. He ensured Olivia never went hungry another day in her life. Slowly, something beautiful grew between Watson and Clara. Trust, comfort, and quiet love. One rainy evening, Clara whispered, "You saved our lives." Watson shook his head gently. "No, you two saved my heart." Olivia hugged them both. And just like that, a billionaire, a maid, and a little girl became a family. And lesson is, human kindness is more powerful than wealth. When you choose compassion, you can change someone's entire life, and sometimes your own.